Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome to Hill Beyond, Insightful Conversations with our alumni. I'm your host, head of school, Zach Lehman. It is September 21st, 2021, and we are back. We are back here at Hill, and we are strong. We have 544 students, record enrollment here at Hill. They are all here. We are in person, and we are celebrating our third week of being together of classes. And just yesterday, we started our full seated meals, seated lunches, and full chapels. So it's an exciting time at the Hill. And what a better time than to start Hill Beyond. This is our alumni series. We've been doing this for about a year and a half, and we're glad to welcome you all here tonight. This is our first of many. We'll continue doing this on a monthly basis, and we'll talk a little bit about that towards the end of the hour. Thank you again for joining us tonight. Our special guest tonight, we're going to be talking about fashion design and e-commerce and style with our special guest, Rihanna Wells. Rihanna is a class of 2007, and she's hiding behind the screen here. We'll get to her in a minute, but Rihanna Wells, Hill School class of 2007, is an on-figure and still life stylist who believes that styling should always tell a story and visually communicate a brand's unique DNA. She grew up in Pennsylvania, shadowing her mother at her accessory boutique and crafting with anything she could get her hands on. Rihanna's first taste of styling took place on set during her internships with Lily Pulitzer and Oprah magazine, though it was her experience styling in-house for Vineyard Vines HQ with an influential mentor that truly set her on the right path. After becoming the grateful winner of the 2016 Vogue Talents Brand Communicator Scholarship Competition, Rihanna moved to Milan to further her career by getting a Master of Fashion Styling and Visual Merchandising from Domus Academy, where she had an opportunity to work with well-known Italian names such as Ferragamo, YNAP, Valentino, and The Greatest Magazine. In July of 2018, she accepted the position of Senior Stylist at Justice, where she had the incredible opportunity to be a part of a brand that aims to empower all girls. For almost 2 years, Rihanna gained valuable experience leading styling, still life, and on-figure editorial and e-commerce shoots for the brand. Today, Rihanna is a freelance stylist, which allows her the freedom to take on new clients and challenges. She also has the pleasure of creating and sharing fashion, travel, home decor, and lifestyle content through her blog, Wear Bows and Smile. Her current clients might say she's best known in the studio for her hardworking spirit, strong organizational skills, natural love for working with others, and contagious positive attitude. Rihanna aims to make each project and shoot better than the last, values every product that she styles, and aspires to portray each product in the highest quality manner. She always strives for excellence and is highly motivated by the desire to create memorable images. But before all of that, she was at Hill. So let's take a little walk down memory lane. Here's Rihanna, her sixth form portrait in the dial. She was a prefect, a four-year boarder. She was a member of the Step Club, the orchestra, the skating club founder and president, and of course, a big sister, a big program here at the Hill. And, wouldn't be a Hill Beyond if we didn't pull out some other pictures here. I think her sixth form superlatives were best dressed, that was prophetic, and first to marry a million. And of course, there she is in her skating club. Some more pictures here. Looks like everyone was having a pretty good time. So Rihanna, are you there? Did you hide now that I'm showing all these pictures?
I did not expect these pictures, but what a great surprise. It was a great little trip down memory lane.
We dug them up. Well, welcome. And I see you're wearing your Hill scarf.
Yes, I've always kept it, and it's come with me on many moves.
Well, have you ever used it in a shoot?
No, I have not yet, but definitely a special piece to keep in my back pocket for the
Is
future.
blue and gray stripes are not coming back? They're not all the rage right now?
Stripes are classic. They're always in.
Do you want to hear something interesting? I mean, I digress before we start the interview, really, but so I'm going to get this somewhat wrong, Rihanna, and my fashion sense, as you can tell, is pretty limited. But the stripe on the tie, the Hill tie, goes from upper right to bottom left, diagonally, and apparently that is called the continental stripe. And so Hill ties, since the beginning of time, have used the continental stripe, except for one class year where they accidentally made it with the American stripe, which went in the opposite direction. So if you ever see the tie going the wrong way, it sort of looks funny. You're like, I don't know quite what's going on here, but they just use the continental stripe, the American stripe instead of the continental stripe. So learn something every day. You didn't think you were going to come on the show and learn anything about fashion from me.
Well,
but here we are.
Piece of information in Hill tradition.
Well, so I know that was a pretty long bio. There's a lot of buzzwords in that bio that we're going to have to unpack during our interview. But first of all, thank you for joining us, being here for this first Hill Beyond. It's become a really sort of a staple of our alumni engagement. We have lots of alumni joining us tonight. I'm hoping some of your classmates will be on and asking some questions and providing us with some background on your experience at Hill. But thanks for being our first guest.
Thank you so much for having me. It's an honor to be here.
And where are you coming to us live from? Are you in Pennsylvania or are you somewhere else?
So I am actually in Columbus, Ohio. I'm a freelancer. I actually have not been back at our house here since July. And I'm here for a quick 4-day turnaround until I head back down to Atlanta to be on set with another one of my clients.
I was hoping that you were in Milan or something. That would have been more fun.
I wish. I am always wishing I was in Milan.
When was the last time you were in Italy or in Milan?
So I left in 2000, I think it was 2017, the summer of 2017, and I haven't been back since. I am itching to get back to Italy and to see all my classmates, who many of them are still in Europe. So it would be great to get back soon, hopefully this year.
When you were at Hill, did you ever go on the classics trip to Italy, the famous trip with Dr. Bender?
I didn't. And, I'm not sure if that existed when I was there. I'm sure that I would have jumped on that opportunity. But, I did go to England with Hill for the Charterhouse Challenge.
Oh, cool.
It was a great opportunity.
Was that when they did sort of an engineering challenge?
We did sailboat building, and we raced model sailboats in a little mini America's Cup race, which was great.
Yeah, we haven't done the Charterhouse Challenge in a while. Interestingly, we played them in soccer a few times, and we had an exchange where one of their faculty members came here for a semester or a trimester. But it would be interesting because we now have a pretty big engineering program, and I bet Charterhouse does too. Be interesting to sort of bring that into the 21st century and have a big time robotics challenge or something like that.
I mean, it was a great experience. I still keep in touch with some of those students too.
Really? Well, so you left Milan in 2017, so you weren't there for the pandemic. Italy was pretty hard hit in the early stages. Were you in touch with some of your former classmates and teachers during that time?
I was in touch with some friends over there during that time, and luckily everyone that I knew kind of avoided it. And it was, of course, that was a big concern of mine in the beginning of the pandemic. When we were here, I feel like Milan in Italy was all over the news. And then it was interesting, as soon as our numbers started to jump, everyone from all over the world was reaching out to me to see how I was doing in America. So kind of interesting how the tables turned so quickly there.
Yeah, it seems like a long time ago, but right at the beginning of the pandemic was Hill's spring break, and we had our classics trip scheduled to go to Italy. And I remember, the conversations where should they go, should they not go, and it was such a big deal. And now no one would have gone at that time if they knew what was going on. But we still haven't gotten our refund yet back from the airfare. But in any event, I digress. So tell me a little bit about when you came to Hill. You just mentioned Ohio, but when you came to Hill, you were from Pennsylvania at the time.
Yeah, actually, my parents are still in Reading area, Pennsylvania, which was great because they were able to attend all my games. And I'm not sure if you guys still do Saturday classes, but it was nice to be close for those weekends where we had Saturday classes.
Do you want us to have Saturday classes, or do you not want us to? It's a big debate among alumni whether they want our students to keep having Saturday classes or not. And then I'll tell you what we do.
I am all for the TGIF feeling that you get on a Friday. So I'm going to say no to Saturday classes.
You'll be happy to know that we don't have Saturday classes.
Great. That's good to hear.
We did have them. So we got rid of them about 4 years ago, really to support student mental health and students' pursuit of their individual passions. There were a lot of students leaving on weekends anyway to go to athletic events, and there were a lot of SATs and that sort of thing happening on Saturdays. So we got rid of them. And then last year, with our crazy schedule that we ran during COVID, we moved to a modified block schedule. I think we had 6 or 7 Saturdays over the course of the year. They were very, very, very unpopular. So
I'm sure that was a shock it's a pandemic year, and then there's Saturday classes all of a sudden. I'm sure that was a shock to everybody.
Yeah. But I've definitely encountered some alumni who think that Saturday classes are part of the Hill experience. And when I went to boarding school, we had Saturday classes every Saturday. And by the time I came to Hill 10 years ago, we had gotten to about every other Saturday. So it was sort of a slow march to get rid of them. But it makes for a much more interesting weekend. Anyway, all right. So you were from Reading, so you were a day student for the first few years?
No, I was a boarding student, and there were only 20 freshman girls that were boarding my freshman year. So wow. I was in the 5th class of girls to go all 4 years, which I feel very proud of because it definitely wasn't always smooth sailing. I think that there was a lot to be done for girls at Hill still. And it's just been lovely to watch the journey from an alumna now and see things like the first girl president there, and just see how sports have evolved and all the different offerings that are available for girls, and kind of see those percentages rise. I think, don't quote me on this, but I think that it was maybe more like 20 or 30% girls when I was there.
Yeah, that's right. And you're in that time frame. It was. We've gotten as close to about 49% girls about 2 years ago. Then it dipped back down again, but we're about 47% girls this year. It's pretty close. I think if you were to take the PGs out of the equation, we have roughly 15 PGs every year, and I would say 13 of them are boys. If you took them out of the equation, we'd be very close to 50-50. And certainly our 3rd form class this year, with roughly speaking 110 students, I would say it's almost half girls. So and the biggest thing is we now have more female faculty members than male.
Wow, I did not even know that. That's a great fact.
Yeah, it's pretty exciting.
They're making me smile very big. It's good to hear these things.
So what made you choose to go to Hill? I mean, it was sort of a pioneering time. Were there members of your family that had come to Hill before you?
One of my closest friends from growing up was there at the time, and she was a year ahead of me. So she had kind of introduced me to this idea, and I had been looking at some other private schools outside on the main line, and another girls' boarding school I had looked at. And I just remember she was home on break, and she was like, let's just apply online. Let's just go downstairs. Let's fill out the first application. And back when I was applying, there was like a first round, and then if that all checked out, you would get your packet in the mail for the actual application. So when that actual packet came, my parents had no idea. They were like, what is this? But I think that after my first visit, I was really sold, and it felt like home, and it felt like a place that I could be challenged and grow.
And who were the who were the faculty members that really impacted you? Who was your advisor? Who sort of steered you in the right direction?
Yeah, my advisor was Rev Bensinger, and just a lot of fond memories with him. And I also attended his Bible studies. He was just very encouraging in a great way. And I think that he knew when to push me on certain things and say, I know you can do better here. And he knew when to praise me on other things. So he was a great advisor. I think Margie Neislander. She played a big role in my Hill career. I was in orchestra for 4 years, and oh my gosh, there's so many.
What was your what was your instrument in
I
music?
was second violin,
Uh,
but yeah, I
are
just
you still upset that there was someone that was a better violinist than you? Or is it,
no. So second violin is that whole section of second violin. So
so there were more than
there
one person.
were amazing violinists my years there, violinists that went on to do that as their profession. So I was not going to be one of those, but it was great to be amongst them, and it was a good experience for sure.
And so after Hill, where did you go from Hill?
After Hill, I went to Washington College in Maryland on the Eastern
Eastern
Shore.
Shore. Yeah.
Is a small art
I want to
school.
say they're the seagulls. Are they seagulls? What are they?
They're the shoremen, but
Oh,
it is
shoremen.
like a goose flying as the
Okay.
logo. So yeah.
The shoremen. Okay. All
Yeah.
right. And what did you study there?
I was an English major and an art minor. They had a really strong English program, which I enjoyed. And then I also sailed on their sailing team there.
Oh, they're sailing team.
Yeah.
So when did you sort of get the bug for fashion and style? I mean, you got best dressed at Hill, but at what point did you start to think of it as sort of more than just, how you dressed yourself? Like when did you start thinking about how you might dress others and design photo shoots and that sort of thing?
Well, I didn't even remember this, but my parents moved a few years ago, and my mom found a picture that I had drawn in preschool. And I guess my teacher wrote on it, "When I grow up, I want to be a fashion designer."
Hmm.
So, as early as preschool, I knew that I wanted to work in the industry, which I think, of course, fluctuated as I was at Hill. I was thinking maybe I'll do this, maybe I'll go into journalism. But yeah, it's interesting. I kind of knew when I was younger that this is the industry I was going to be in.
Hmm. And so tell me a little bit about how you made, what was your first big break where I mean, it's got to be a tough industry to break into, right? A
Yeah,
lot of people want to get into it. There's, I'm sure there's very few good positions. They probably don't pay well at first. You really got to hustle. So
definitely.
when did you know that you were going to be able to do this for a living as opposed to just chasing it?
Oh gosh. Well, I feel like maybe those are two different questions, but like two different
Answer them
answers.
both. Answer them both.
I feel like the first big break actually does have a little bit to do with Hill. I worked at the Lilly Pulitzer sale with Amanda Doherty and Margie Neislander, and they were kind of like my in to work at their sample sale. And their headquarters are in King of Prussia.
Right.
If you worked the sample sale, you got to shop the day before. But I also knew that all the girls from corporate had worked there. So my plan was to go in and network so I could be their intern. And I did intern for Lilly, but I applied for 5 years before I got it.
Wow.
It was a long process. They kept saying, you need to be older, you need to be a little older. Or maybe it was 4 years before I got it, but I started applying when I was at Hill. And then I was very fortunate to shadow an editor at a newspaper who was doing some fashion. And then after having that small little experience, they accepted me as their summer intern. And I'm still not sure if they did just so I could stop heckling them, but persistence is very important.
Yes, no, I agree. Squeaky wheel. I didn't even know about the Lilly Pulitzer, group sale on campus. We don't do that anymore.
It
We may have
wasn't
to get Mrs.
on
Niceman or
campus.
Mrs. Doherty. No, it wasn't.
No, it wasn't on campus, but it was in the summers and it was in a big warehouse closer to their headquarters.
Oh, that's cool. Well,
But yeah,
maybe it's still happening. I just don't get invited, I'm sure, Rhiana.
it is not anymore. It's online these days, which is very sad. Some good memories were made there.
So then you worked for Vineyard Vines and then you ended up at Justice. Tell me about those two positions. I mean,
Yeah.
you were doing a lot of different things, different kinds of brands, and How did you
Yeah.
land at those two positions?
I had assisted stylists in my internships in the summers at Oprah Magazine and at Lilly, but I had never really known that that was a attainable career that I could have. So a little bit about your question earlier, when did I know? I didn't really realize that styling was a career that I could have and could attain, because the stylists that I was assisting were famous socialites, used to be Vogue editors. So I think that I just thought that that was kind of out of a realm of doing
Hmm.
styling as a living. I didn't realize there were so many different facets of it. So I ended up starting at Vineyard Vines. At the time, everyone that was coming in from out of college had to start in their call center for, I think, 6 months to a year, which was great to learn the customer and to make friends with other young professionals who were going to be in different departments. And one day I was just striking up a conversation with the stylist, and I kind of was just looking for a way to maybe escape the call center for a few hours. I asked her, do you need any help steaming clothes? I've done that as an intern. I think I'm pretty good at it. And she said, yeah, I think I need a lot of help. So I started helping her, and then she kind of taught me everything I needed to know, which is a very likely story in what I do. It's usually one mentor. You just get lucky, you meet that one person that invests in you, and she taught me everything. And so I was doing the
Did she
still
pull you,
lifestyle.
did she pull you out of the call center? Or did you have to do both?
She did. Yeah, I was supposed to go into the marketing team, and I ended up going into the photo team and working on styling with her instead.
And
So it was,
so in your bio, there was that term on figure and still life stylist.
yes.
So that's a little bit of buzzword. Tell me what those two things mean, or tell our
So
audience.
yeah, for sure. So, still life is basically if you're opening your J. Crew catalog or your LL Bean catalog, and you see a stack of shirts that are perfectly stacked, or men's pants perfectly fanned out in a really artistic way, that's still life styling. And that can apply to for food styling, or I've been doing some home interior styling. So still life is all of that, and then on figure is on model. So I a lot of my clients right now are e-commerce clients. So the models that you see on the website, and I'm the one that's pinning all the samples on them and accessorizing them to make it look a little cooler. And then, of course, editorial, which is what you see in magazines and also what you see in catalogs and big campaigns.
Yeah. And so which of those lines of styling do you prefer? Or is there one thing, or do you like the variety, or where do you find yourself spending your most of your time?
I think, like, I have always answered that question that I like both equally, because I genuinely do. I would say the one thing that I like more, I've been working with another children's wear brand after Justice, and I just find styling kids to be really joyful and rewarding. So I would say that that's my favorite on a personal level, although I do enjoy both.
Yeah. I mean, kids can be terrific. I'm sure that's also can be a handful when you
Definitely, yeah.
get, although they're probably child models, right? So they're sort of in it they have a little bit more experience.
I actually, on the shoots I've been on, they've been casting from real kids, and that was actually the most rewarding part of Justice, is that they didn't use models. They were real girls of all different sizes. So that was definitely rewarding to see somebody walk on set a little timid at first, and then at the end of the day be super confident and happy.
For what it's worth, I was never a child model, Rihanna, but my brother was.
Really?
Yes, he had one gig. He appeared on the box of a Bert and Ernie alarm clock.
I feel like that's a really big thing to have gotten. That's a big deal.
I'm not sure. Uh, he was a pretty cute kid, I guess, and somehow we lived in Miami, and somehow my parents networked through. And I mean, Bert and Ernie, they were a pretty big deal back in the day. So we still have the box at my parents' house. So their pride and joy. I was always second fiddle to him after the Bert and Ernie alarm clock. Anyway, moving on. So what made you move from being in-house with these big companies, big brands, to doing it on your own? Was that by choice? Was that as a result of COVID? Was that just a preference?
Yeah,
Curious.
the first time I was freelance, when I came back from my program in Milan, it was kind of just by chance. I had been reaching out to brands for full-time positions, and I had a couple of them say, "Hey, we aren't hiring full-time stylists, but we do need freelancers. Would you be interested in freelancing?" And my initial plan was just to freelance for a short period of time until I found a full-time position. And I think styling is not it's not like fashion merchandising, it's not like fashion design, and that those in-house positions are very few and far between. So freelancing, the first time I freelanced for 8 months, it allowed me to be a little bit more picky with job opportunities and allowed me the time until I really landed that in-house position that was a good fit.
And
And now,
so,
when I went back to it, sorry, the other part of your question, when I went back to it this time was my choice.
yeah,
I actually resigned from my position at Justice the week before kind of the world shut down. But, I wish I would have done it sooner. I think I was just missing the challenge of styling all different things, all different clients, men's and women's. So, yeah, I wish I would have done it before the pandemic hit. It was a tough first year freelancing, but it's definitely very, very busy now, which is good.
so how many clients do you work with these days, or sort of on average? Are you working with only a small number, but doing extensive work with them, or do you have like a huge, broad group of clients?
I would say, oh my gosh, I haven't even fully counted right now. My clients that have been keeping me busy right now, which I feel free to share on this call. They'll be in my portfolio in a few months. So one of my clients right now is Stitch Fix at their studio in Atlanta, and I had done some styling here over the past few months with Victoria's Secret in pink and a brand
Victoria's
called.
Secret just changed their name, right? Are they just now Victoria's?
I'm not sure if that's true.
I
I did
remember
not
seeing
hear
a
that.
big news story this summer that they were changing their whole brand. And
Huh. I didn't hear that, but I was just on the
I'm
e-com
very
side,
on top.
so
I'm very on top of these fashion brands, Rihanna.
I like that though that you knew that fact. That's great. But yeah, I was just doing their e-com back here at their studio in Columbus, but I did not hear that. I
When you find out tomorrow, you're going to say, "Wow, Zach knows a lot about fashion."
Yeah, no, I'm definitely gonna look into that. That would be super interesting.
Well, maybe one of
But
our viewers, while we're talking, can look it up and put it in the chat. See if
yes,
I'm
oh my
right,
gosh,
or
I would
I
love
could
to
be
know.
totally wrong. I might be imagining something.
They were
All right,
definitely,
so
yeah.
you're working with some pretty big names.
And
I assume it's all like word of mouth?
um
Like people refer you and you get, they're like, "Oh, you got to work with Rihanna. She's amazing. I worked with her at this place and that place."
yeah,
Or are you actually marketing yourself pretty actively? How does it work?
I would say both. Stitch Fix, I'm truly not sure how their lead stylist came across my portfolio, but that was kind of an out of the blue call. My client Zach's off fifth, I had worked with before I left for Justice. Um, so yeah, I think it's a little bit of both. I've definitely been kind of pitching myself
Hmm.
to brands, especially during the pandemic. I feel like now that things are really, really busy and I'm booked every week, I would love to take some time to do that again. Um, I think nobody was really bringing in anyone new, especially during a pandemic. So, but I was doing some pitching and I did get some new clients that way. But now it seems to be really big and just kind of and busy and rolling from one client into the next in word of mouth.
Is there like a freelance marketplace for stylists in fashion industry?
There's not really there's a good amount of freelance stylists that have agency representation.
Hmm.
And, I'm not sure. I think maybe that's a decision to be made down the road. I had always said I would like my first full year to be independent. That said, it is getting really busy, and it would be really nice to have someone else kind of controlling the schedule and being the bad guy when the time comes to negotiate. That would be really nice. So I do see the positives of having an agent, but I also do see the negatives of it and what you have to give up
Hmm.
in the percentage. I think it's like 20 or 30%.
Wow. and I can't even imagine how one goes about getting an agent, but it sounds like that's down the road for you. So have you ever done any, are you strictly in sort of still life and fashion shoots? Are you doing anything live, like movies or fashion shows, that kind of thing? Or is it all just photo shoots?
For Justice, I did a few videos and yeah, and I did a lot of gifts, which I loved creating for our flat shoots. And we did like a runway show before, and way back in my past, I used to take vacation days at Vineyard Vines to volunteer at Fashion Week in New York City.
Cool.
So I've done that before. But I think all of those were good experiences. Video is very different. It's a different kind of styling because the clothes are, of course, the perfect size for those actors or actresses.
Right.
And what I do is it very rarely fits the body that I'm putting it on. So it's a lot of smoke and mirrors.
Now, I'm going to ask you a question. I'm going to be dating myself by asking it, but have you ever come across a book called The Preppy Handbook?
Yes, I feel like that was like very popular maybe when I was graduating Hill.
Yeah, it was probably a little bit before, but it was probably still around. It was like this book, and it was all about like how to be preppy. And there was like a lot of like, what to do, what activities to do. But then there was the centerfold was like this photograph of a teenage boy and a teenage girl. And it had like, they were dressed up totally preppy. And there was a little line coming off of it. And like, wear this sweater from LL Bean and wear this, these glasses from Ray-Ban or whatever, whatever the case was. I just remember being very not personally, but that being a very influential part of like going to prep school. And interestingly, we had a student here not too long ago, George Cleveland. I want to say he's class of like 13 or 14, who for his sixth form independent studies, he did a whole fashion project on ties. He may have been the guy who told me about the continental stripe. That may be the case, but he designed these ties. I don't know if I don't see him on the list here tonight, but he designed these rivalry ties. He designed a Hill Lawrenceville rivalry tie. He did like an Andover Exeter rivalry tie, and he did, I think, a Yale Harvard rivalry tie. And it was so successful. He sold his company. It was like his first. He sold it to someone. He never told us how much, but it was like his independent studies project became a big business. And then he went to Babson. I think he works for Wayfair now or something like that. So he sort of stayed in that world. Yeah.
Very cool.
So I have one of the original Hill Lawrenceville ties, but his project was all based on the Preppy Handbook. So I was really intrigued.
Cool.
So you should look it up. Maybe you could do a Hill style book for us.
That'd be cool. Yeah, I would be happy to.
What to wear to be cool at Hill.
I did something like that. A friend of mine is a diplomat in DC, so I did a presentation to all the diplomats, and it took a lot of time to do, but I was happy to do it, and I feel like I got a lot of questions. They got a lot out of it, so
That's
yeah,
great.
I would be happy to.
Well, we're doing something. We did it last year in the pandemic, and just to keep our kids busy when we were remote. And now we're doing it because it was so successful, called the H term, and it's a 2.5-week program in December where students can either do, like our teachers are creating these fun, interesting classes, or students can do independent internships or off-campus stuff, on-campus stuff. And then eventually we're going to try to involve our alumni and parents, teaching a 2.5-week course on whatever. So I'm sure that once the word gets out that there's a stylist out there, I think a bunch of our kids are going to be interested. So in your career, you mentioned the Lilly Pulitzer connection, but was there ever a Hill connection that helped in your career? Like, did you ever get a gig through a Hill connection or work on a project where there was someone else from Hill or anything like that?
I think that, definitely getting my foot in the door through my Hill teachers that were working the Lilly sale, that was the biggest one that I can think of. But I would say not that it helped me, but Tim Gunn, Mrs. Gundy's brother, he came for a career day, and that was definitely something I will always remember. And when I visited Parsons, I was still kind of debating, should I do the fashion school thing or should I do the liberal arts school thing? So I was preparing a portfolio for fashion school as well. And when I visited Parsons, he was there and he remembered me and he kind of like took us aside and gave us a separate little tour. And yeah, I think that through Hill was a really special experience that I'll always remember.
There's a recent graduate, Grant Clauser, he's been doing, someone's going to remind me of the name of his company, but he's been doing sort of fashion, clothing manufacturing. And he actually dropped out of college, I think, to really focus on it because it was doing so well. Maybe much to his parents' chagrin, but but I think he's probably still out and doing it. Someone will remind us of the name of that company. And so, what's next for you? You have made it through a pandemic. You've made it through the transition from working for a big brand and then going out on your own. You mentioned maybe getting some representation because it's getting so crazy. It sounds like you're not lacking for work right now. Where do you see this career taking you?
It's interesting that you're asking that question. I feel like my long drives to my clients have given me a lot of time to think about this recently. And I think truly, like, I would love to do more kid styling. I think that that's what's really fulfilling and more like tween styling. So I definitely, as much as I want to keep pushing and reaching to do bigger brands, men's and women's, and be well rounded, I definitely want to incorporate some of those clients that fill my heart a little bit more, because I think it's easy to get burnt out if you don't have those clients that bring you a ton of joy. And I think in the future, my hope is just that I have a pool of clients to choose from, right? That's every freelancer's goal, to be blessed enough to have regular work and to be able to choose to be with the clients that are really wonderful to work with and just really great to be around. So I feel grateful to have a handful of those right now already, and I hope to build up more of them.
I got to imagine that men and women style changes, but more gradually than sort of tween and kid style, right? That's probably, how do you keep up with that? Like, how do you know how to make kids look good? Like, or is it more timeless than I think?
You know, I'm always pulling inspiration. And I think that now there's more inspiration around and it's more accessible than ever before. So I have a million folders on Instagram of things that I'm saving and different magazines that I follow and keep up with. I'm still a big print girl and I'm following them and always seeing what editorials they're posting. So I think just it's important to stay up on trends and look at what other people are doing and just be inspired by things around you, and just always keep looking. I think even street style inspires me. So yeah, just a lot of different ways.
What percentage of your work ends up in print as opposed to just online?
Oh goodness, I would say probably now probably like 25%. I think a lot of oh, I do have a menswear brand in Pennsylvania that is primarily a catalog brand, which is rare these days. But I still think probably like 25%, and that number is going down.
Yeah, it's hard to imagine being in your line of work pre-Instagram. I guess there were always fashion magazines, but Instagram certainly has made it. Whenever I talk to someone who's in a creative field, they get all their inspiration from Instagram. It's just,
It's amazing how much you can just find at your fingertips. So yeah, I feel grateful for that and wish that it had been around a little bit sooner.
yeah. Well, I'm going to start taking some questions. So I'm giving our audience a little bit of a heads up that it's time to start thinking of your questions. And there's two ways to do that. You can I think there's three ways. You can either put it in the chat room, you can put it in the Q&A, or you can raise your hand and come online and ask a question. But while people are prepping their questions, my last question for you, and it's usually the same question I ask all of our guests on Hill Beyond, which is, what do you think you learned at Hill? What were the skills or traits or experiences that you had or learned at Hill that contribute to your work every day or have made you successful in your career?
I think, and I say this often to my fiance as why I really want our children to go to
Congratulations, by the
school.
way.
Thank you. I would really love if we have daughters that have a desire to go to Hill as well, could go. I think it made me just very independent and very fearless in terms of going after what I want. I think when you're at Hill, you're surrounded by achievers and doers, and that's a really wonderful thing because you're constantly influenced and challenged by those around you. So I think, yeah, it made me independent and it made me fearless and it made me a go-getter.
Yeah. Well, we're hopeful that you'll send your daughters to Hill when you have them. We're waiting for the first daughter of an alumna to come to Hill. We haven't had one yet. We've had plenty of daughters, but not of alumna, only of alumni. So I think the first is probably going to be Courtney Neese. She's getting pretty close. I think her oldest is in probably sixth or seventh grade.
They're so cute. Yes, she's another one that I had a great experience with when I was at Hill. She was my soccer coach and my dorm parent.
Well, she's still doing a little bit of that these days. The chair of the English department now.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Well, I don't see her on the list. I'll let her know that she was influential in your career. So, all right, with that, I'm going to open it up. Anyone who has a question tonight or wants to pop it in the chat room or the Q&A or raise their hand, you have access to Rhiana right now and would be happy to take your question. So I'm going to wait a second and see if anyone raises their hand. Come on, I haven't asked all the good questions, so there we go. Wallace Gundy.
Hi, Wallace.
Hold on, here she comes. Wallace, are you there?
I am. Can you hear me?
We can. Do you want to
And
come?
of course,
Do you want to come on screen, Wallace?
sure. Although I'm so embarrassed by what I'm wearing for this session, I should look better. But yeah, I'll come on.
Okay, hold on. I'm promoting you to a panelist.
Okay.
Hold on. You're coming in now. Where are you? I think you have to make your video. Hold on. Now I've got to ask her to unmute.
The host has stopped. You cannot start your video because the host has stopped it.
Oh no, I didn't do that on purpose.
Okay.
All right, well, let's just chat.
That's okay.
Now you guys are classmates or just about.
Just a couple years off, but it's so good to see you, Rihanna. I have to tell you, I feel like I'm seeing a celebrity because I follow all of your blogs and everything on Instagram, which is just so awesome. And I think it's just so cool you followed this awesome passion. It's probably serendipitous you can't see me on camera because I'm in an oversized chunky sweater and looking a wreck. So, I've got two questions for you. I think my first question is, I want to hear what is going to be big this fall and winter season that we should all be preparing for. And then I'm also curious, especially given your expertise of styling kids, what you would do to sort of either update or modernize the Hill dress code.
Ooh.
Oh, wow.
Ooh. That's a tough one. Wallace, go.
So for this fall, I think fall florals are back in a big way. And I'm really glad that was a trend that was around last fall. I'm really glad that that's around again. I think there's a lot you can do with that, especially in a transitional phase like right now. Also, bold colors for fall. That was something that we saw last year on the runway, and that is something that's back this year. I think there's a little bit of that. Everyone's saying it's like the roaring 20s again, but I do think that that probably played into the designer's choice to bring in some bold colors for fall because we missed out on some fun in 2020.
Okay.
Those are the two I'm most excited about. I love wearing color. I love that you can bring that into fall. I don't think fall means that you just have to wear dark and muted colors all of a sudden.
Okay, good. That's definitely good to hear. And I feel like I usually go with the dark muted in the fall, so I'm going to add some pop of color.
That's also your thing. You can always bring
I like it.
That's right.
Right,
You've
so
given
now
me the confidence for that.
now the tough question, Rihanna, how would you update the Hill dress code?
Gosh.
Or would you? Let's start with would.
Or would you? That's fair.
I was going to say, I'm not sure if I'm as well versed as I could be on the current dress code. So Zach, you'll have to correct me if I'm wrong, but
hasn't changed much, Rihanna.
Okay.
Those who identify as male have to wear a coat and tie, trousers or pants, and dress socks, dress shoes. They get away with a little bit of interesting shoe choice, sometimes like a canvas Sperry or something like that. Can't wear sneakers. And then those who identify as female wear a blazer and a blouse, no tie, and then either pants or a skirt. And we have recently updated, they can wear dresses on Wednesdays. No, any day I think they can wear dresses now. It used to be just on Wednesdays.
I love that. I think that we could wear dresses. I think I had to have wear more of a jumper style with a collared shirt underneath. But
you could wear a dress to seated dinner. At least when I first got here, you could wear a dress for seated dinner, but you still had to wear a blazer on top of it.
I think I was wearing maybe I was breaking the rules, but I think I was wearing dresses.
That's okay.
When I was at Hill. But I would say, and Wallace can probably commiserate with me on this, I think I went through I don't know.
Stockings. It's going to be the stockings.
20 pairs of stockings every single week because those chairs in the dining hall, gosh darn it, they would ruin every single pair of stockings I had. And it was miserable when it was 100 degrees out. It was not a fun experience. So I have heard that there are no more stockings anymore. And that makes me really happy that change occurred. But I do have to say a positive thing for the dress code is that I think learning how to wear blazers and wear them well is a really important trait or a really important thing to know how to do, no matter what industry you're in. I think if you know how to style it and wear it well, which hopefully you have some ideas on how to by the time you graduate Hill, I think it's a really great thing to be able to do.
You were mentioning before we started that we were talking about your scarf that you're wearing, but you said that your blazer in those days was a men's blazer. They didn't have women's blazers yet for the sixth formers.
That's correct. Wallace, is your blazer a men's blazer as well?
It is, and I know I've thought about just taking it to a tailor and getting it kind of just a little bit more fitted to me because I love it. But yes, it's a men's blazer. And the small, we were all so little in high school, and the smallest you could get didn't fit any of us.
Well, the trick that some of the tricks that the alumni have learned over the years is to cut the blazer patch out and have it put on a newer blazer.
Interesting.
Yeah, that's a bold move. You've got to be.
Ours were this very interesting texture. I don't know, Wallace. Yours it was like a wool, a very very wool texture.
May have been a Brooks.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, I think not standard to most female blazers today.
No. It was just a thick wool. I mean, I think it was perfect for the guys, but just tricky for us because we were sort of drowning in them.
Well, I think you'd be happy to know. Again, I'm not much of a style person, but I'm learning a lot tonight. And but I think our students, both male and female, have found some pretty interesting ways to accessorize their dress code. There's a lot of bright colors and different colored blazers, and they roll their pants up, and so you see the different color socks and belts and ties. I mean, of course, some kids have no interest and they just go with the basic khaki khakis and blazer, but there's plenty of style out there. Lots of shoes.
That's great. I also think it puts you in the mindset of we're here to do work. We're here to be professional. And I think that's really good, actually.
Well, Rhiana, we've got to get you to campus at some point. Maybe we can do a styling session with our sixth formers as they go off to college.
I would love to. That would be so fun.
That would be fun. We'll have to squeeze it in between some of your different gigs. So, anything else, Wallace?
Oh, it was so good to see you, Rhiana. I'm actually seeing my uncle this weekend, so I will remind him of you, of course. It was just great seeing you, and I'm so glad I got to hear all the backstory of everything I'm seeing online.
Well, thank you so much for just being a part of my journey. And
oh my gosh, please.
I would love to catch up soon.
Yes, I would love that. Sounds good. We will.
And now, most importantly, Wallace knows what to wear this fall. Perfect.
Exactly, I know.
I already knew.
Thank
I
you.
think that she has great fashion sense from what I can see. So
Thank
Aw.
you, Wallace. Good to hear from you.
Yep, thanks, Zach.
Bye. All right. Well, that was a good first series of questions. Do we have any other questions tonight? We have a few folks still on the call, and anyone else want to get some advice from Rihanna? What's in, what's out, what to wear, how to change the rules at Hill? You know, Rihanna, I had every week I have breakfast with the sixth form leaders once a week, and the co-president. We now have co-presidents. They don't have to be male and female, but they happen to be male and female this year. And the young man, Noah Toole, who's the co-president, asked me today if sixth formers could not be required to wear ties on Wednesday. I was quick to answer no. And his theory was that girls could wear dresses on Wednesdays now, which he felt was more casual, and why couldn't boys have a more casual thing? I think dresses are more formal.
I think dresses are more formal too.
Do I have it here from the expert? I can go back to him and say, if anything, you have to wear like you have to wear a suit that day.
One thing I do remember that I hope is still a tradition is, do sixth form boys still wear bow ties?
You know, that was a Friday thing when I got here. On Fridays, it was only sixth formers were allowed to wear bow ties. And I think it was only on Fridays. It may have also been a Mr. Doherty thing, because he was such a bow tie guy. I don't wear bow ties. So I think there was some emulation of Mr. Doherty in those days, but not many kids wear bow ties. And I don't think that if you wore a bow tie today and you were an underformer, that you would get as hard of a time as you would have in those early years when I was first here, just because we sort of went away from them. And then with COVID, we really had a little bit more relaxed dress code last fall, and a lot of kids were remote. And so we're just happy that they're wearing ties and jackets again and sort of getting back into the swing of things after a crazy year.
Like maybe that would be the one thing I would change. I think that I loved that it was a senior privilege, and I think the boys really stepped up to the plate senior year.
Okay.
And like so many of them wore bow ties, which I loved. And I think that is why I loved styling bow ties at Vineyard Vine so much, because it was like a special thing. So yeah, I think that that's cool. And I think maybe if girls wear dresses, maybe boys should be wearing bow ties on Wednesdays.
Bow tie Wednesday. Oh, I will go back to Noah with that. He actually would probably be the kind of guy that would like that, to start that tradition again. Well, we definitely have to get you back here, because I think that you could help these kids get through like why it's important to wear a blazer and coat and tie and how that's important.
Yeah, I would be happy to. It's been a while.
Good. Well, Rihanna, we're just about out of time. I want to thank you for being our first guest. Get the ball rolling again this year. I think by tomorrow, many of our students are going to be following you on Instagram if they aren't already. And we'll get the word out about Bow Tie Wednesdays and no stocking every days. Although the chairs are probably less splintery now, so maybe that's not as much of a problem.
Oh, that's good to hear.
And then maybe try to get you involved in some way, whether it's through our new H term or come back and do something fun with the sixth form in the spring.
I would love that. And also, if there are any sixth form students or any students that are interested in going into the fashion industry and are interested in talking, like I would love to connect. So, and help in if any way I can. Well,
that's terrific, Rihanna. It's such a nice, so nice to get to know you a little bit better and hear about your career and your time at Hill. And we're proud of you, and thank you for making the time for us tonight.
Well, thank you so much. And thank you for having me, and just for being such a supportive community in my whole career journey. So thank you.
It is our pleasure. So I'm going to throw up the pictures here again of you.
Oh no!
Oh no! They look pretty good. I think I think you've got some style here.
I don't know.
This picture over here, the one from the dorm. I mean, that looks like straight out of the preppy handbook. I mean, you guys got the ties going. Where are you in that picture?
We were the first girls, I think, in that dorm. I think that's why we did that.
That actually looks like it's in the Saunders room, fireplace and stuff like that. But
I was a prefect that year, but yeah.
It says first something. So, Which
think
one are you there?
First girls in what was it? Not, I can't remember.
Is it
but
Wendell?
In Dell.
In
In
Dell.
one of the Dell dorms.
Okay. Which one are you in the picture?
I am holding the sign.
That's you right
My
there
sailing
with the
hat.
lacrosse stick?
Yeah, with my
Yeah.
sailing hat on, my Hill sailing hat.
Oh, that's right. That was like Mr. Walbridge's team, right? The sailing team?
Yeah, we had club sailing. I'm actually Laura Wright, who's the only other girl on the team. She was my little sister at Hill. I'm in her wedding.
Oh.
Yeah, this weekend.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, we have a few more Hill Beyonds coming up. You can see sort of in the middle of each month, October 19th. We're still working on our guest for that date. November 16th is going to be Liz Burton. Liz is a trustee and lives in Hawaii and is in the investment world. And then we'll have one on January 18th, February 15th, April 19th, and then right around graduation time, we'll be in May. So, we'll all have our fashion down by the spring, Rihanna, by May.
That sounds great.
We'll need more advice.
For having me.
Yes. Well, thanks for being here. And thank you everyone for joining us, and have a great night.
Have a good night.
Take care.